This week on the FlatChat Podcast V8SCOPS edition. The Lord rains down from the heavens after leaving his team and shows his true form. The stars are realigned at TTR as Jared Filsell dominates the SCOPS weekend with back-to-back wins. Jake Burton receives a shaft to the rear, causing mayhem early in race 1. And All-Star Motorsports team boss Brand Tucker is needed to calm down Dame the party starter Warren after a pit stop gone wrong. This is the FlatChat Podcast V8SCOPS edition. The FlatChat Podcast is sponsored by Trojan.
Let's get the season underway. VRS, V8SCOPS.
I didn't know there's no more rear contact.
Wow, down the inside, drives contact. No, they touch. They're holding together though. Everybody goes. Filsell gets a storming start from the front row.
Oh, hang on a minute. Who is that?
Black traffic. Round the outside, Get the inside, hold it down to the inside. He sends one pretty much clairvoyant and perfect as he gets himself through.
Welcome again to the FlatChat Podcast V8SCOPS edition. After a fun first episode from Watkins Glen, we are very pleased to deliver you our second show coming straight off the back of such a great response from you, the iRacing community. On this week's program, we have one of the more colourful teams that take part in SCOPS, the ever fun-loving and extremely talented All-Star Motorsport. As always, please follow us on all our socials and subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest episodes from this and our F1 and Supercar streams too. So before I go any further, I'd like to give a belated welcome to the founder of the FlatChat Podcast and third host, fresh from his glorious debut in Split 2 of the V8SCOPS series. Welcome, Matthew Norris.
G'day, boys. Sorry I missed our first SCOPS edition episode, but I was sick as a dog, and you guys did a fantastic job. I'd like to say g'day to everyone listening to the SCOPS edition. I'm Matthew Norris, and I'm the host of the FlatChat Podcast Supercars edition. Whilst I started out with the vision of bringing the real-world Supercars podcast to the masses, I'm extremely happy that we've taken the podcast into the world of SCOPS. As an iRacer myself, I'm extremely passionate about the wider sim racing community and really enjoy watching SCOPS. So it's going to be great to cover off the story behind the race and discover the personalities behind the drivers.
Yeah, thanks, Norrie. It's great to have you. And as always, we are joined by our producer, editor extraordinaire, JC Richards. How's it going, JC?
Hey, Chris. I'm going good, mate. So, guys, this is our podcast trio. This is our team. We did a really good job last podcast, guys. So, thanks, Kessie, for doing your thing, and you did a fantastic job getting it out there. And thanks for everyone for listening to it. We're going to keep rolling on with the season and have some more fun along the way. Norrie, you did a fantastic job too in the SCOPS Split 2 race, your first Split 2 race. So you qualified out of the Dev Series in the top 5. So, mate, how was your first experience of the big leagues?
It was extremely encouraging. I put 110% commitment on the line to try and make it into SCOPS, and I'm really happy with the result I walked away with. I got 14th in Split 2, so it was fantastic. Not only for the FlatChat podcast, but for myself as an iRacer, it was really good.
In the interest of non-biased journalistic integrity, we're going to run cars covered in FlatChat podcast banners. Yeah, it seems legit.
I love my racing, and my car has some panels that need some FlatChat sponsorship. So that's where we cover that one off.
FlatChat sponsorship. Well, the way we're going, we could probably sponsor enough to get you maybe a half an hour practice session per month. What's that, 50 cents? But no, given what the ASM boys were talking about, I think you might be lucky to keep those panels with the FlatChat banner on them. Might be a bit rubbed off after you get through to the Split 1 races, Norrie.
Well, definitely. I mean, we saw some massive aggression in the past week. We actually went back to Oran Park, which was my home track, where we saw sanity restored to the series with Jared Filsell taking both top split races with TTR. They seem to be stretching their arms a bit more. Also, they took a few podiums as well.
Yeah, mate, another dominant performance all weekend by Jared Filsell. But, Cassie, I'm surprised you didn't race in the SCOPS race on the weekend, as you live, about 5 minutes drive from Oran Park, or the old Oran Park. I know it's not there anymore, but surely you could run around the newly developed homesteads and try and get a bit of practice in.
Oh, I did, actually. I did, yeah. I did a 103. Was that fast?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was running the old FG Falcon, just like they do in the iRacing series. Unfortunately, mine only has 6 cylinders.
But so long as you put up a fair fight to those kids running around on their pesky little push bikes.
Motor scooters around here, mate.
The kids don't muck around in your area.
Well, they certainly weren't running motor scooters at the SCOPS round. We saw in Split 2 in that first race that we just referenced. Darren Lord, he left his most recent team at Tempo and then all of a sudden straight into first place in Split 2. It's great to see him get his name up there. I'm not sure whether he's already got a team lined up, but I'm sure there'll be a few people out there who've taken notice of that, and you never know where he's going to end up now. He was followed by Redback Racing's Ian Bird and Progression Racing Australia. Norrie, I know that you run around with them as well. Paul Preston, he was in first position for the majority of the race until, unfortunately, there was a bit of a pit strategy backfire where he got backed up into the field with a teammate, Brian Borg. They had a little bit of an awkward moment. Did you guys get a chance to see the awkward moment on the last corner there?
Yeah, definitely super aggressive, but that's just how it seems to be in SCOPS, and especially when you talk about the 43-degree track temperature. While it's crazy to see teammates running so close, and I mean the same thing happened at Watkins Glen, didn't it? But it's a massive talking point, and it creates something to get excited about. I just think that they were just running really aggressive, and you either do or you don't. So if you don't, it's just kind of a boring race where you just see a car following around it over and over. And I'd much rather see guys giving it a go, which is exactly what those guys did. So, yeah.
You really do need to be committed at this circuit to make a pass.
Well, it was good to see because I think Paul might be running one of our logos on his car as well. The more logos out there, the better, I think. It was really good to see, though, the team, the camaraderie there with Brian giving the position back to him just before the end of the race, sort of acknowledging a little bit of a mistake there. Moving on, we've got fifth place. We have Matthew Muggleton, also a privateer. I have him down as anyway. I'm not sure whether that's actually right.
There's a few driver changes going on of late, but I thought Matthew Muggleton drove for Distinct Force Racing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, let's get our fact checker on that. Herbert, can you do something about that?
Herbert Charles, do some work. I think we're paying that guy too much, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, to be honest, but
yeah, he's got us.
He also writes up our script.
We're stuck with him then.
All right, and moving on, one of the admins for Oceanic Sim Racing, Henry King, for Synergy Sim Racing, puts it in sixth position, followed by a pretty well-known figure, Cameron Dance. He did a great job commentating the top split from TTL. Luke Page in eighth position from XRF, Will Dodd from Fusion in ninth, and Adam Wyborn in Synergy. Now, the big talking point for us, obviously, is Norrie making his debut. You did start in 28th position, mate, so I'll give a hats off to you finishing in 14th on debut. How are the nerves? I've got to ask that, mate.
To be honest, completely before the race, I was petrified. I thought this is a massive world out of my league. Only recently graduating from the OSR Dev Series, I thought this is way bigger than my boots. But once I got into it, I realised this is just racing. It's what I know, it's what I love, and it's what we all come to the service for. So it was great to just get into it and put the stress of this massive thing of SCOPS out of my head.
And also, just on the Dev Series, like, I know people might tune into just, say, a show like this, or they put the broadcast on to watch SCOPS, and at the end of the day, it does start from the development series. In any real-world racing too, you start at the place where you can get comfortable and familiar with the car and racing. And the guys at OSR, just once again, doing a great job putting a development series out there for, blokes like yourself to get really comfortable before you move on to the main game. And it just proves that, you went in there and made up 14 positions on your first ever attempt at SCOPS Split 2 race. So they must be doing something right over there with the development series and the whole thing that's about. And yourself and the drivers are doing something right by sticking in until you're ready. And mate, you were obviously very ready.
Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate that. I also do want to shout out to the team at OSO, put both series together. I wouldn't have spent 6 seasons in Dev if I didn't think when I'd graduated I'd be ready to to go and attack these bigger races. So it's a massive shout out to them for putting on such fantastic series that help grow drivers.
Well, Norrie, I'm not sure what sort of temperature you had in Split 2, but qualifying for Split 1 was in 43-degree heat. The track was on fire. We saw a few incidents that we spoke with the ASM boys about, where Dane somehow still put the car in third position to qualify. Madison down in first, Jared Filsell second, Jake Burton fourth. So a bit of a TTR sandwich there Dane was stuck in.
And do you know how much a V8 supercar bonnet weighs? Because given that you could see the engine block in Dane Warren's ASM car, I'm pretty sure they were running a lighter vehicle.
I think that might have been strategy, but we'll find that one out in the interview, I think.
Yeah.
TTR's Richard Hampstead in fifth position. Moving on to the race, though, I mean, straight away, Madison Down had pole position, but after a few corners, Jared and Dane, Richard sort of got him after a couple of laps, but Jared and Dane got off to a cracker of a start. Did you guys get a chance to see that?
Oh, yeah. They completely engulfed Madison off the line. It was like a superstart from the old Mario Kart game where you hold down the button and the second light or whatever it was.
It kind of seemed like that, hey, yeah.
But I think that the race was kind of won and lost off the start there because the positions that were gained on the start were how it was as it followed through to the last lap.
It stayed relatively even the whole way around. There was quite a large incident that happened between Forzan Arnabi and Jake Burton, which caused the safety car on lap 1. Now, Norrie, did you get a chance to get involved in a safety car? Was there a safety car in Split 2?
No safety car. We're all clean races back there.
And that seems to happen quite a bit. We've seen a few comments over the last couple of events that Split 2 seems to be safety car free. So let's hope it stays that way. And race 1, I mean, really, to be honest, compared to the week at Watkins Glen, one safety car, yeah, that's not too bad. I thought there was some pretty good racing, pretty good 2x2 action, as we spoke with the All-Star Motorsport boys. They were going 2x2 with each other. And speaking of moving up 14 positions, Mr. Norrie, Chris Robinson, we've raced him relatively recently in the development series. He also moved up 14 positions into 10th place for the round 1 of the Top Splitter Scops.
What a great story. So, yeah, Chris Robinson, I think technically it's Chris Robinson 4, but nonetheless, there are a few drivers like that come from the development series, like Kai Sloggett, Kyle Stokes, Jordan Pruden, Christian Hinton. There's a few other guys that I just think of off the top of my head that they're so good and they only really need one series in the development series. I know we've talked about the dev series a bit, but it is important because these guys are going to be the future fast top 10. So it does make me think of something that happened this season. Simon Black made a bit of a distinction between who can run in dev and who can't. His point was if you could make it into a SCOPS race through the pre-qualies, then you probably don't need to be testing yourself in the competition of dev. That's really for guys to develop. But and I was affected by that personally. But I still think that the guys who made it through, Kai, good on you for winning the dev series, and to make it into top split and start making your mark there, it's awesome. It actually, Cassie, it makes me think of a certain British commentator that might want to have a crack.
A call out to Jake Speary to join the development series.
Yes. But I don't know, has he got a wheel? I thought he used a controller.
I think he has a wheel, but he tends to use the pad, as he calls it.
The pad. That's probably what I used to call my dirty sock-laden bedroom when I was about 19 years old. But yeah, the legend Jake Speary. Hopefully he comes on the show sometime soon.
That's pending. So moving on to the race 2, Jared Filsell took the win away from Madison Down, who managed to hold his spot this time. After a few mistakes from Dane Warren in the pits and Richard Hampstead in the pits. He was a little bit lucky there, but I mean, really, TTR showing their strength with Jared, Madison and Jake first, second and third. I mean, we spoke a lot about TTR last week with having Jake Burton on the show. They're continuing their form. They're going as strong as ever. A bit of redemption for the next car in fourth position, Forzan Arnabi, after that big incident in race 1. It was good to see him back in amongst the top drivers out there. Another TTL driver in Josh Muggleton in fifth position. Evolution Racing Team, a team that we really haven't spoken about too much, although they are a really, really big team on the worldwide scale as well as the Australian sim racing scale, with Ethan Griggolt in sixth position. and Ian Ford in 7th position, followed by one of the most experienced drivers in the field, Hayden Dodman. Good to see him back on track. He was really on a charge, finishing in 8th position for Torque Inc. And in 9th position, one of the guys who we got to speak to yesterday in Ethan Warren, one of the young up-and-comers for ASM, and followed by one of the young up-and-coming TTR drivers in Sam Blacklock in 10th position. So as I mentioned at the start of the show, we have the boys from ASM. Now, we initially thought we'd bring you 1 or 2 drivers from the team, but as we found out, they all seem to have developed a severe case of mutual separation anxiety. And once we invited one, we virtually ended up with the entire All-Star Motorsports SCOPS team. So let's jump into the middle of the team introductions here after the race on Sunday. Without further ado, the boys from All-Star Motorsports. And on the way back from Oran Park, we were able to drag a whole bunch of drivers back to the studio for a bit of a chat from one of the teams looking to knock on TTR's door for the top position on the podium. First of all, we're going to bring in a man who is involved in a million different series across many different race platforms. Probably one of the most recognisable voices in All-Star Motorsport, the level-headed man from the team, Thomas Hinds. How's it going, mate?
Hello, how are we all going? Yeah, just doing some IMSA practice as you do. So, yeah, pretty good time right now. Pretty good time.
Well, I hope you're sending it like the rest of your team does.
Always.
The next time we're going to bring in... back from playing dirt rally at Oran Park, one of the young and up-and-coming drivers in V8 SCOPS, ASM's baby alien, and also one of their PUBG champions, Ethan Warren. How's it going, mate?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Matt.
How you going, buddy? So moving on from that, we're going to go to Scotty Szlowski. This man says that he loves the adrenaline rush of pre-qualifying for 41st in SCOPS, then hoping someone pulls out just to make the field. Scotty, how is that adrenaline rush going for you?
Yeah, pretty well. I was a little bit disappointed on the weekend. I actually ended up in the top 30, so I'll have to be looking to fix that up next round.
Yeah, you'll have to make sure you do something about that for sure. Now, we're going to move on to one of the big dogs from ASM. The next man, I believe, not in a TTR car to take a SCOPS victory and podium sitter from the weekend. This man is the super loudmouth party starter and one of the most outspoken people in iRacing, Dane Warren. Welcome to the podcast.
How are we going? It was such a laugh.
That's enough, Dane. No, stop. That's too much now, Dane.
yeah, mate, settle down. Jesus. Definitely the party starter of ASM.
Me, myself.
Yeah. Now, definitely one of the quietest team bosses around. He doesn't really say much. The boss from All-Star Motorsport, Mr. Brandt. Brandt Tucker, how's it going, mate?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm quiet. I'm far from quiet, but I'm great, guys. Good to be here.
Yeah, that's a shame that you said so much there.
Ouch.
Moving on from that, we're going to go to one of my closest mates, currently a naughty boy, serving a bit of a suspension in the SCOPS series, but nevertheless, we have him on the podcast. Daniel Williams, how's it going, mate?
Not too bad. How are you?
Definitely louder than Dane Warren. Anyway,
yeah, no, I don't know how I was going to beat his intro there. Like,
I'll be trying hard to try and be louder than Dane. Honestly, really trying hard.
Really try, yeah.
We need an XL lover. We're calling an XL lover. Is there an XL lover in the server?
Yeah, mate, righty.
That must be Ben.
It's Benjamin Smith.
Mate.
Benjamin Smith, the former gun from Race on Oz. I don't know what happened since. But, yeah, welcome to the podcast, Ben.
It's gone all downhill.
And
we're missing a McMillan,
we are missing this person. I'm still going to introduce him if he decides to jump in. I think he's a little worried as to what may be said. We're all here to support him anyway, but look, you're never going to know what's going to happen around this guy. Countless memes, scafey quotes, and on his day, one of the quickest qualifiers in the field at Bathurst until the top 10 shootout. And also, definitely don't give him your fuel numbers. I'd love to say hello to Thomas McMillan, but unfortunately, he can't make it. I'm assuming that he's going to join us later, or he's going to pleb it, which he's done before.
He ran out of fuel.
Yes.
He was on the way over and he didn't fill up.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
He must have drove past and made it to Melbourne or something.
Definitely not a problem that Dane had last night. Let's just put it that way.
Came in for 30 litres, got 60. Okay.
Optimum fuel strategy. Just ask McMillan.
It's fine. What could possibly go wrong?
So was that his first time doing fuel numbers, boys? Is that what happened?
It was. He was incredibly distracted during the process.
What, he was playing PUBG while sitting there with the fuel numbers?
Not saying that there was any form of pornography involved, but yes.
But there definitely was.
But there certainly was. Being he's from Albury, we don't want to comment on what type it was because we don't want to scar too many people.
Move on.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Moving on to qualifying now for the top split of SCOPS. So first of all, what happened, Mr. Warren, coming out of that pit lane there?
Well,
brotherly love.
Yeah. Fucking everyone checked up. All checked up. All of a sudden, I found myself without a bonnet, or Ethan without a boot lid. So it was a very surprising incident.
It's a team strategy to save weight.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get weight reductions on the cars.
Reduce drag.
I was going to mention, was that going to be a team strategy throughout? I mean, like Dane put the car in third position with no bonnet. Why didn't anyone else come up with that idea?
Well, I mean, I unintentionally did the strategy in race 2 when I had my rear end bashed in a little bit, and apparently I didn't have a boot. On my end I still had a boot, but apparently in the broadcast I didn't have a boot, and I was driving a bit of a sorry-looking Falcon, so I kind of unintentionally did it, and I can tell you what, it works well. My pace was still fine. So, top tip, you want pace in a V8 supercar, remove body parts, and you will go, at least a few tenths faster every lap.
I tried removing a wheel once. It didn't work so well.
There is a limit. Wheels are kind of essential, but everything else, door, whatever you need, bonnet, just get rid of it. Save weight.
I'll put that on my setup sheet. Thanks, mate.
Yep.
Surely panel damage makes an improvement to the Falcons, though, doesn't it, Thomas?
Look, I'm not going to comment on that.
In my case, if you remove the driver, the car goes faster.
Unfortunately, I think me and Ben are like the only Ford people in ASM, all of you Holden buggers. So, look, Falcon OP and does very well. So that's my thoughts on it. So, yeah.
It doesn't work for me, so.
So tip taken, take it in the rear and you'll go quite fast. All right.
Yep.
So the other thing to note from that qualifying session was that it was 43 degrees. How hard was it to get a lap in on such a short track with 43 degrees? You'd be sliding all over the place, as Ethan definitely proved throughout the races.
Absolutely terrible. There's zero traction out of the last turn. Absolutely none at all. That actually just goes to show how good Dane's lap was with no front and a 43-degree track to put it up the top.
Well, there's his brother to thank for that, doesn't he?
Wow.
Stealthily, he was actually trying to wreck his pole lap, but, we just don't mention that here at ASM. But, yeah. I'll say as well, just on quali, with the heat, it was definitely interesting, and it is something that I think when you look at SCOPS, we do kind of prepare, I suppose, for that a little bit. Prepare as much as ASM prepares, which is very little, but
5 laps of practice and then massive amounts of shunting.
Put that aside.
I think it also sets apart all the people in pre-qual that actually just go for flying laps and don't actually think about, okay, what happens once I actually make the top split. I think there's a lot of cars that just go in for that golden lap, and then when they turn up, they're out of tyres or they're out of grip or usually out of talent as well.
So this does head in, Scott, to the kind of talking point at the moment in SCOPS. Is that something you guys are having an issue with?
Certainly not my problem because I'm lucky to make it in 39th and 40th. But you just look at the results at the end of the race. You can see there's the guys who have the green numbers going forward at the end of the race are usually always the same guys who actually think about how long the race is and don't just throw it down the inside and just hope it sticks. And there's always the same blokes that are going backwards who have lost 20-odd spots. You might have qualified well, but put a stick in the fence within the first 10 laps.
Yeah, I think there's a point to be had about that. A lot of people seem to put a lot of focus on pre-qual, when in reality it doesn't really matter where you pre-qual. As long as you're in the split you want to be in, that's effectively all that matters. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. I think I've sort of been seeing it as well lately.
Yeah, well, that was proven with Mr. Riley Bryce from ERT. His engine went boom. Has that happened to you guys in any of the quali sessions? You're pushing the car a little bit too hard and you maybe shift down a little too early?
Ask Dane about blowing his engine at Road Atlantic. He knows all about that.
Yeah, I think Dane and I have a good experience from Phillip Island this season, actually.
Yeah, what about that safety car, dude? Come on, tut.
Yeah, look, don't use force through turn 1.
I think it's more likely to happen. I had it actually happen this weekend when I actually decided to see if I could do a race run and pop the engine after about 10 laps because I was so used to being really aggressive on downshifts to get the car stopped for that flying lap. So, you know, those guys that are just going to go into the race and try and set purples every lap might, you know, have an issue with some valve springs in the old V8.
Especially the ones driving the Fords.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Nothing wrong.
Shots fired.
Payback later on. I'm in the same session as you, remember, Daniel, so I could punt you into oblivion, just FYI. But yeah.
All those Falcons sending smoke signals.
So moving on to the race, we had Dane got a cracker of a start. We're lucky to have him here to explain what the hell you do on those starts, because every single time you seem to be qualifying up the top of the field and then just getting behind Mr. Philcell. On for a bit of a rivalry there, Dane.
Yeah, obviously I'm still lacking a bit compared to him at the moment because over a race he just seems to pull out a tenth or so a lap, and by the end of the race it's just way too far gone.
So do you know what you've got to do, though, Dane, to get and stay on Philcell's tail, or do you think it's just more time in this?
The urge to say something about an ex-sponsor is so powerful right now that I won't. I'm going to behave myself.
Seriously, shut up.
He just needs a little bit more commitment.
I need more commitment. I'm at 109. I need to be 110.
Oh, no!
110.
Not the commitment, man. Please.
So early on in the race, Jake Burton was taken out by a particular PSS car, Mr. Forzan Arnabi, and lots of cars were taken out. Which one of you were taken out, and which one of you were lucky enough to get away with it?
One of the virtues of being crap in qualifying is that you actually get to see it all kick off in front. And I'd opened up like Moses for me. The seas just parted, and I think I made up about 10 or 12 spots or so. But I'll tell you what, he copped it. Poor old Hobbo had nowhere to go. All the cars in front of him went, and there was Burton just sitting in the middle of the road going nowhere. So there were a couple of guys who got caught out pretty badly.
Quick shout out, moving on. We're going to go to Chris Robinson's fighting for a top 10. So he was sitting in front of, I think it was Thomas and Ethan at one stage, just before Ethan decided to play a different game and go for a rally drive.
For God's sake, here we go.
He tested the optimal braking line, and I think he confirmed it wasn't quite ideal.
He thought it was raining. He was just trying to do something, get some grip, some grit on the tyres to get some more grip.
Ethan, you've done that in a few different races. Did you do that in a development series race a couple of seasons ago, mate?
At Phillip Island.
Yeah, you were checking out the seagulls or something.
Oh, I was looking at the water.
That's the most terrible excuse I've heard. Checking out the water.
Yeah.
Just waiting for a mate.
Pretty nice out there.
Buys an iRacing subscription, looks out at the water.
Oh, man, I've got to say, there's so much stuff that happened with All-Star Motorsport. The next thing was probably the move of the night from Mr. Sislowski.
Oh.
Throwing it in, Brian Borges' move on Emily Jones. Throwing it in down there on turn, I think it was turn 4. Scotty, you tried to do that several times. What made that one stick?
150% commitment.
110% commitment to it.
Commitment.
No, in all honesty, I was actually really that first bit of the track was probably where I was most confident under brakes, and I noticed that Emily was a little bit weaker there. So I went, well, if I'm going to make any sort of move, it's got to be there. And she blocked me into the first turn, got down the inside, so I channeled a little bit of D Ricardo and crossed her back over at the next corner and got it done. So I was quietly impressed with that one, and glad it got picked up on the broadcast.
It was live too.
Even
no replay needed.
The live plug is the best plug.
And did you guys actually get a chance to watch it after?
I was in
the broadcast. Do you guys like watch the broadcast and
I catch up little bits and pieces, yeah. Yeah, I more just look to see if they catch my stupidity that I do every single lap in any race
that's
I do.
That's not difficult, Thomas.
Because I need to make sure that I'm presenting the right image, so the right level of professionalism. So yeah, I usually check for that, and I think they did. I think they got it pretty well, which is good. They certainly got it when I lost the bonnet, which is great, and saw me running around in race 2 without a bonnet. So I think I met that requirement very well. So I'm quite happy with that.
I'm sure you made the sponsors very happy.
Oh, yes.
After meeting all the team tonight.
Most of the team.
But I wanted to say, after hanging out with the guys, and I can imagine that after every single race, Brant puts his foot down, gets them all into a room, gets the tables and chairs out, gets the notepads out, the projectors on the screen, they watch the broadcast back, and everyone sits really quietly taking notes.
He gets the belt out.
Okay, so there's that version. And then there's the truth, which is I come back from cooking my pies, which are not burnt, Daniel, FYI. They are cooked perfectly. I come back to check Discord after race to find PUBG, and PUBG.
Commitment.
So no, there is no debrief. It's just, okay, race is done, PUBG.
There was a bit of a debrief with old McMillan, though.
It was, yes. We may have laid into him for a
large debrief.
Yeah, good 3 or 4 hours, I reckon. It went on for a while.
This is funny, the debrief is still going.
It is, yes. It's a never-ending debrief.
This is the pre-brief for the debrief that is the pre-pre-brief of the next debrief.
All right. So, Thomas is never to spot anyone ever again.
Okay. As much shit as we pull out of Thomas, we do love the kid. It was an honest mistake. It was his first time spotting, and he lost concentration for a mere couple seconds, which was enough of it to obviously mess up. It is disappointing to see that, double podium went begging, but we live, we learn, and I'm sure he won't do it again.
Is it sad that, as I heard on Discord, Thomas trying to cover up his mistake with Dane, all I could think of was, hey, there's another spot for me.
I would say I'm surprised that was the thought process that you had, Scott, but after knowing you for the past couple of years on the team, I'm really not.
He just didn't know how to use a calculator. Fucking 2.3 times 7.3 just doesn't go together.
Yeah, 7.3.
And I may have said, I very distinctly remember about probably 4 laps before Dane pitted, I think you asked Dane how much fuel to take, and I said very clearly this much fuel, and somehow he still put in about 4 times more. So,
well, the thing is that when we asked you how much fuel we needed, I told him to please organise it or please get it set before that time. And I also told him to watch when Phil was going to pit, because we were planning on following him in. So with him doing neither, we were very underprepared. It wasn't good.
It was the classic embodiment of ASM, to be fair, but
It just was.
That's an interesting point, Brant, talking about that and what you want to achieve with the team. Do you look at other teams like TTR, etc.? I'm not sure if you have any conversations with Madison, maybe, you guys everyone is so fast in ASM, obviously, and I don't know how organised you have to be at the top tier to win SCOPS races. I guess. You guys just seem so close to on that level of domination, maybe, that we see with TTR. What do you think it is that you've got to work on, or to get yourself up and above the guys like the Phil Cells, etc.?
Well,
More talent.
Phil Cell is just on another level. To beat him is going to take a very bad day on him or something miraculous from us. We're there or thereabouts. We're consistent top 5 podium finishes, but do we have that little extra touch? Not yet. Are we getting there slowly, ever so surely? It's something we are working towards. Obviously, we would love nothing more to see an ASM car at the top of a SCOPS race. They are the best V8 operators probably, in the world in terms of, simulated V8 supercars. So, it would be amazing to see an ASM car up there, and it'll happen eventually. It's going to take a few bridesmaids results first. And I think that's Dane's 3rd or 4th, 2nd position in SCOPS over the past season and a half. So consistency is key. Got to hand it to Ethan. That kid's coming on as well. He's had 2 top 10 finishes this year, so that's always a bonus. But I guess seriousness in terms of in terms of further goals for ASM, one of our big goals is to try and push for at least one car in the Pro Series next year for GT3s, and that's something we really are going to be starting to work towards, in the coming months. So that's probably our biggest goal overall, and probably to try and snag another OEC title as well, whether that be in the GTE or LMP1. That's where we're at the moment. It's going to take a fair bit of work, especially for the BES series, but we can get there. We've got the guys there. It's just going to require a bit of proper exercise and training and practice from us.
I think the biggest thing about ASM though is that anyone who knows and hangs out in our Discord a little bit knows that we love a laugh and muck around. But when push comes to shove, as a team, we work together really well. We share a lot of information that we have. We share our sets, try and help each other improve, and we're probably 95% of the way there to play with those big teams in the big series. But it's that last 5% that we just need to improve on, and we'll get there. We'll get there one day. But at the moment we're just knocking on the door. But some of these big teams have got to watch out.
It does seem like that way. If you watch any SCOPS broadcast, you pretty much, I don't know, it always seems like, especially yourself, Dane, I'm like, yeah, okay, Dane's going to win this one. It's like right on the edge, don't you reckon, Kessie?
Yeah.
I've predicted him to win probably 3 times in the middle of a race this season. I'm not putting any crap on you, Dane, but you've been a bit unlucky with a few things that have happened through the races. I think you've got the pace already, to be honest, to take on the likes of Phil Sell. It's consistent. But you finished 2 seconds behind him? Was it 2 seconds at Oran Park, the race one there?
Yeah, it definitely is more so consistency over pace. We do have pace, but just doing the same laps 38 times.
So it'll come with time anyway.
Yeah, it's more experience than anything.
Yeah, okay. Well, moving on, I think, to the race, I just want to ask you guys, did you guys see that last incident that happened on the last lap between, I think it was Chris Hinson and Jake Blackhall? Did any of you guys get a chance to see that?
Ethan was right behind that.
Yeah, I actually blocked a potential overtake using his stricken car on the outside, which was very handy for me.
Ever the opportunist.
I'm sorry.
Team camaraderie at its best here at ASM. But one of the subjects that definitely came up throughout that race, a lot of people were mentioning prior, was not many passes can be made, apparently, but based on the size of the track. But I reckon that is bollocks. I saw 3-4 times throughout the broadcast that 2 cars were going too wide throughout the corners, and sometimes even 3 wide, which was pretty scary. Ethan, you're involved in that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. Like, you just kind of trust each other to give space and, make it through the corner.
And I think as well, just I can back that up as well, because I had a couple of really nice moments throughout the second race, just battling for about sort of 12th, 13th by the end there. I was battling for 13th with Mitchell McLeod, who, of course, has been around the traps a very long time. Yeah, no, it definitely, I think I get what you mean there, Kessie. It's hard. I think it's hard to get the move done, but there's a lot of chances to go side by side.
The thing is, it's like that anywhere in terms of actually trusting the person that you're battling against. You're not gonna go for a move where there's a fair chance that the person you're having a crack at is going to turn down on you and potentially put both of you guys out and anyone who's racing behind in the fence. So, and I think that's an issue that, especially this season with SCOPS, there's been a lot of incidents where people have just gone for a 20 or 30% move, hoping that the bloke in front's going to get out of the way. Which isn't always great, but just this last race, it was actually not too bad for me. So you just got to have a bit of trust in the person you're racing with, and Oran Park exacerbated that a lot.
So I 100% agree with all of those points that were made, because you've got to have respect with the person you're going side by side with, and you've got to know that they're not going to punt you off, because there are some people who make those 20% moves and they end up ruining someone's race because they're not far enough up. So you need to have 100% respect, and you need to be able to trust the person.
It's almost not as much about a position as just about enjoying the racing, which, of course, at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, aren't we? Enjoy the racing. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah, I agree, Thomas. I think that's a really good point about enjoying the racing. But look, I see you guys practicing when you guys are in practice servers or pre-qualies, and the ASM cars on track. You guys are on track because you drive so close with each other, and maybe that is where you guys find the fun. It seems like ASM as a team as a whole really look for the fun in things, and on the track you can see you guys have fun. Is that why you guys do that in practice, just to get comfortable and stay close to each other and just find that fun in driving?
100%. I think there's a big difference. It goes back to our original we were talking about earlier, is that you can see the difference in the guys who do 100 pre-qual laps and they're all out on their own and they don't get that racecraft. You can, especially in SCOPS, like you can be half a second off Phil Cell and co, even a second, and still go forward with good racecraft. I think that's one thing that I'd like to see SCOPS, or not just SCOPS, but any series, official or a league, improve, is that we need to, as a community, move away from these glory laps and they go up in lights, and congratulate the guys who move forward, 10, 15, 20 spots in a race because they've actually made good, solid moves on people.
It's a fair point.
Well, this was the part of the night where I was going to jump in and go, hey, Thomas, let's have a conversation in Thomas McMillan, just to add there. Let's have a conversation in only Scafey quotes. I was going to liven up the conversation here, and Thomas has yet to join the server, so it's pretty sad to hear. Has anyone else got any out there? You want to throw any out there?
It is a shame that Thomas isn't here, because he is one of the best operators in the business. 120% commitment every time.
I'm going to bid you farewell before I happen to contract cancer from the ensuing conversation.
Thank you, Brant. Very, very happy to have you on the podcast. Just to move on as well onto the end of the race there with race 2, we sort of got a little bit sidetracked there, but I had a couple of notes written down. One of them was something that Thomas Hinds brought up before. It's really good to see some of the most experienced drivers on the track. We saw Hayden Dodman was on the charge. He definitely put up a massive fight, passing a whole bunch of drivers there. Ian Ford and also Mitchell McLeod, which is a name that you don't see as often as you used to. The greatest sim racer in one of the best sim racers in the world. I'm pretty sure they referenced.
That'd be one of the best sim racers in Australian sim racing history, a la Mark Scaife.
100%. Now, we'll see if we can get Mitchell in and have a bit of a chat there. That'd be cool.
As you mentioned, Scott, I think it was a really good point to bring up, was how, especially in the races that are a little bit longer, either the 250s or the sort of longer races in the sprint format, you really see the drivers who've been around for a long time or are just very strong in race trim, because as you say, there's a lot. They'll always have the green of the plus, even sort of +4, +5. It doesn't have to be +20 every race. Just solidly, bang, 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 doing every race. And I think that really shows the people who get in that sort of right mindset, to me at least.
Well, that's a bit of a trait that you carry, Thomas. You tend to, you finished 13th twice this weekend.
Yeah, I can't. Lucky number 13 was very true for me this weekend.
I was going to start calling you the hobo of 13th position.
I've always tried to pride myself on racecraft and just consistency. I know generally I don't have the raw pace that a lot of people have, or sort of others have, that I end up racing against, but I try and just get back with the consistency and keeping it clean, yada yada. So that's how I try to do it anyway, and it seems to work. The SCOPS seems to be going okay, but we'll see. I'm waiting to have that I guess Stenny experience from this round. Unfortunately, I know he got drilled around a bit.
The Stenny experience is in singing during the middle of a race.
Yes, much Africa, spamming that song, just full pelt Africa, in full swing.
Can we get a quick example?
Couple of bars.
No. My normal voice is annoying enough. You don't want to.
Dane, are you there, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you let Thomas Hinds talk a little bit, please? It's getting a little bit obnoxious, mate.
I'm going to have to super mute myself.
Hitting with the truth bombs. The truth bombs, JC, they are true. I can't deny it.
But no, just a question for Dane, though. Mate, Jake was on last show and we were talking about gear and pedals, etc. And I think we're making a joke about how he had a G27. But is it true that you race with the 27 pedals and wheel on a Mac?
Well, the Mac is definitely true. It's has been true for the past, 8 years. And in terms of wheel and pedals, I did get upgraded to the G920 donated from Daniel, actually.
So the same thing with different buttons?
Pretty much, and a slightly stiffer brake pedal.
Yeah, it's not in every conversation you hear the word upgraded to a G9. That's amazing, mate. So how do you reckon you'd go if you had something like a load cell brake pedal, etc.?
It's hard to say. I've never really given one a proper good shot, so it could be spending $2,500 for nothing, just for the extra quality, I suppose. But I'm
Have you ever thought about upgrading to the GT Driving Force Logitech wheel?
Yeah, that's a massive upgrade.
I think.
Well, I think we got sidetracked again, everyone. Great to hear about everyone's gear.
The FlatChat Gear podcast
the
the
FlatChat Gear podcast.
And if anyone would like to send some new gear to us, please.
Well, just getting out there to the listeners, the equipment that you have doesn't necessarily make you any faster.
I am taking emails from Thrustmaster and Fanatec as we speak.
Fantastic. Well, I really want to thank the boys from ASM for joining us. Brant, Daniel, Dane, Ethan, Scott, Ben, I believe. I didn't
even get a fucking word in.
Well, you may as well just thank Dane for being here. That's all the only voice I heard the whole time.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thomas Hins and Dane Warren, mate. I mean, I think I might mute you next time I bring this on.
Yeah,
just unmute you when we're ready to go.
Before you guys go, I have to ask, with Jake Burton on last week, which was great to have him on, he did mention that Daniel, that you showed him a few things around Bathurst. Is that true? What happened there? He said that you guys came on for a coaching session in VRS and you showed him a few lines that he had to go and take a look at the data afterwards and got a bit faster from your input.
There was a few tracks where we're looking at the sectors and I was a little bit quicker than him. May have just been to do with the track temps or a little bit out of practice for him, but I'm not exactly too sure what he was saying. But
we should have started charging him for that.
Yeah.
Reverse.
I should get a free session for that.
He's the new Daniel Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Will be the next new VRS coach coming next season, so look out for that.
Yeah, good. You can put the same set out every week.
Yeah, I'll just give you a Bathurst set every week. We'll be right.
I'm pretty much sure that's what a lot of people do anyway, don't they? Just chuck a Bathurst set on and change a gear ratio.
Pretty much it, yeah. Always the same bit.
Just name it.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Damn it, our pace has been sold. Well, guess we're at the back again, boys.
So, Thomas, did you want to have a quick shout-out to your sponsors there, mate?
So, yeah, big thanks to obviously Cash Centric and Rat Corp for their continued support for the team. Obviously been long-time supporters, so big thanks to them, and I'm sure they'll be supporting long time in the future, and we look forward to doing that partnership and continue to growing it. Sim Racing Collectibles as well, big thanks to them. Jay's Little Adventure and model cars, painting and building them, which is very exciting. Going to be a lot of Aussie sim racing stuff that's going to be coming out there, I'm sure, in the near future. And obviously big thanks as well to Curse Designs for their work on the skins and the lovely liveries that we showcase for ASM. There you go.
Well, anyway, thanks, boys, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And there we have it, the All-Star Motorsports team. We sincerely hope they do get that elusive first win, because as much as the boys throw banter around and enjoy a laugh, they are obviously very dedicated and take their racing seriously when it comes to performance and results on the main stage of SCOPS.
Yeah, Chris, super fun guys to hang out with on the show. They do take their performance and their results seriously, but they obviously don't mind having a bit of a laugh too. Thanks to ASM All-Star Motorsports for coming on the show. And I think that when this show comes out, I think everyone's going to be in the next pre-quali session for the next round of SCOPS. So good luck, everyone. Scott Cislowski, I hope you snagged that 41st position, mate. And yeah, just remember, everyone, that the podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher. I guess we're out for now.
That's it for this week's FlatChat Podcast V8 SCOPS edition. If you like the show, you can find all our social links in the description below. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and share it with your friends. Remember, folks, less brake, more throttle, and above all else, don't pleb it. So what we want to hear is when Daniel does actually send it, we want to hear it.
No worries.
Send it! Up the arse, man, and I'll fucking send you the next SCOPS race. But anyway, that's fine. We'll sort that later.
Well, for that to happen, it means I'm going to be in front of you in this SCOPS race.
All right, look, that...
Wow.
Don't do this fucking complimenting me shit to try and get out of it, could you? Could you not try and fucking... God damn it. You fucking...
That's really consistent,
prick trying to burn me with a compliment.
I don't really want to send it, but... Just be committed, god damn it!
It's the Audi. You try and fucking be committed to this thing.
That might be.